Christopher Reeves Superman is back in the Flash movie, and maybe even Adam West comes back. Oh my god, how crazy is this Flash movie gonna be? Before we start off today's videos, I want to thank all the members who are supporting this channel financially. Let's give them a shout out. Pedro Bonilla, Rhea, Lit Alex, the CGH, Daniel Martin, Strange Marvel Theories, BK Dan, and myself in comics. So thank you to all those who are supporting us. And if you want to support us financially, it is only 99 cents a month and you can join now. There's a join button near the subscribe button. And every one of you guys that are members, you get stickers and you get free shout outs at the beginning of every one of my videos. Now let's continue on the video. With the Flash movie coming up this summer, directed by Andy Muschietti starring Ezra Miller, there are now questions as to who is going to cameo in this movie, because we saw this recent picture right now that came up. It was on this weird promo. Now I would show you the promo, but that video is being deleted and blocked by Warner Bros, so I don't want to get into any legal situation, so we're just going to put that image up there. But there's been rumors, there's also been speculation that Christopher Reeves Superman will be coming back, will make a cameo appearance in the movie. Now, one thing that we know is fact is that Michael Keaton's Batman is back in this movie. We know Michael Shannon's coming back as General Zod, and we know Ben Affleck is coming back as the Batman. We know this movie will tackle the DC multiverse, but the thing we don't know is how much will it tackle into the larger multiverse of DC, because DC has had multiple Supermans, has had multiple Batmans, has had two Wonder Women. It's like DC has existed for generations at this point. You know, way before our own grandfathers. You know, DC has been here forever. Now the question is, how much is Flash going to go into it? Now this video is going to mainly tackle the Christopher Reeve thing, because of course we know that on October 10th of 2004, Christopher Reeve passed away. But there are large, hints that maybe he's going to cameo in this movie. Obviously they can't bring back the actor, but with the technology we had Luke Skywalker come back. We had some weird Princess Leia shit in Rise of Skywalker. We had so much weirdness already come out with, whether it's actors that passed away like Paul Walker or something like that. We had so much of it. So now the question is, should the Flash movie have Christopher Reeves? This also includes Adam West. We know Adam West passed away, but as of now, there are rumors that characters like Grant Gustin's The Flash, Christian Bale's Batman, Adam West's Batman, Linda Carter's Wonder Woman. There's been so many rumors for years at this point that this actor is going to show up. And I think DC in a way kind of wants to do something that No Way Home did, or Multiverse of Madness, because think about it, and I said this in my last video, I think the Flash movie is the biggest DC movie in the last couple of years. I think, honestly, you could even make some competition that this could be the single biggest DC movie. I know y'all are saying Justice League. Well, Justice League came with a very low reception. And I guess the only other movie I would say is more important than The Flash, or at least more hyped up, whereas more impactful, is Batman vs. Superman. Because that was the first time we got to see Batman and Superman on the big screen. But it's weird, because with Christopher Reeves, it's either you really love him or you really hate him. And it's so weird that like people have that weird, because I think a lot of it is the older generation. It's like a lot of old guys can't accept a new Superman. When Brandon Routh tried to take on the role, nothing. Tom Welling, Brandon Routh, Tyler Hoechlin, and then of course Henry Cavill. Anytime there's been any attempt at getting Superman back, you always have these people being like, Christopher Reeves the GOAT, no one can replace Christopher Reeve. But then you have the opposite on the other side with younger people my age, saying Christopher Reeves overrated, that movie had shitty CGI and the movie looks really bad, and Henry Cavill's the GOAT. Like, you see that. And it's so funny to me seeing how opposite, like with Ben Affleck, you'll have some people being like, hey, I'm not the biggest fan of him, but I like them. Or with Pattinson, you have that same reception. Gal Gadot, you'll have that same reception with a lot of characters. But with Christopher Reeve, it's either this, you either love him or you hate him. And I've always kind of been like, I like him. I really like his Superman movies. I liked him in those movies. He's not my favorite. I think Henry Cavill has been better. I think even, to be fair, I'm a bigger fan of Smallville, but I think Smallville, I actually like Smallville a lot. But it's always been difficult to explain my enjoyment of Christopher Reeves. I didn't really grow up with those movies. I actually didn't really watch them until I was much older. Now, let's not deny one thing though. Christopher Reeve, whether you hate or love him, was the first iteration of Superman, or at least the first major one. I didn't even do research on, I assume he was the first. But you have to remember that when Christopher Reeve came out, it was in the 70s. It was this big monumental event to have a character who has existed, for generations, for a long, long time. You know, since 1933, 1930s. It was in the 1930s. And to put him on the big screen, go look at the posters, go look at the marketing. It was, you'll believe a man can fly. Now, nowadays, with many movies like Marvel movies, Black Adam, any superhero movie out there, seeing a hero fly is kind of the norm. Like, flying isn't seen as special nowadays. Like, nowadays, it's difficult to hook people into movies when it comes to VFX or how it looks. Like, there's a couple rare exceptions, like Avatar. Avatar hooked people in because of its VFX, how revolutionary it was, the CGI, the motion capture. But at the time, seeing somebody fly on the big screen like that was uncommon. It was something extraordinary. And Christopher Reeves became a generational Superman. Even my dad. And I always like to use my dad as like an example of the general audience. People who don't know what's going on. If I was to tell him about the Ezra Miller situation, he probably wouldn't know jack shit. But even he loves Christopher Reeves Superman. It was his Superman. It was, when he thinks of Superman, he thinks of Christopher Reeves. Now, me personally, I think of the Justice League animated series. I think Henry Cavill. There's like other iterations of Superman that I think of. But we can't deny that Christopher Reeves is a generational aspect. So now the question is, will they bring him in The Flash? I don't know. But looking at the picture, they really seem to want to highlight Christopher Reeve's Superman. And if you're going to do a DC Multiverse story, how do you not at least reference Reeves Superman? Like, how do you not? He is the one who began this whole DC cinematic exploration. It built up to the Dark Knight trilogy or the Michael Keaton movies or whatever. Everything that has gone after it came because of Superman 78. And whether we like him or not, it's irrelevant. Reeves is a historical, monumental, loved actor who played probably the most popular, iconic version of Superman. He's not my favorite, but I hear more people talk about Reeves now than Cavill. And that's like a big deal. That's a big deal. So now the question is it disrespectful? Well, we already had it happen. Princess Leia was in Rise of Skywalker. Of course, we know she passed away. The actress, I'm freezing on her name right now, but y'all remind me in the comment sections. We also had the same with Paul Walker, Brian in the Fast and Furious movies and Fast 7. They had his brother in and they used some kind of CGI to kind of make it more look like Paul Walker. Like, we've had this happen before. The only way, like, to me, it's not disrespectful. The only way it could be seen as disrespectful is if you mock the actor. If you do anything that, like, affects the canon of their movies or something like that, I would say is disrespectful. But to just kind of quickly show them, I mean, I'm fine with that. I think that's just a nice way to give a pop. Now, if Reeves is somehow like a major part of the movie, which I completely doubt. From all the rumors, all the leaks, it seems like it's going to be just Supergirl, Michael Keaton's Batman fighting Michael Shannon's General Zod. Like, that seems to be the main thing. The only way I could see him being brought into the movie is there's a quick scene where Ezra Miller's Flash is running through multiverses and he just runs into Reeves. I think that's the only way they would. Or maybe for some reason they canonize him in the Michael Keaton universe. I don't know. Or maybe it's a universe where Superman's dead. Maybe it's that. I doubt it. I think at the end of the day, if he does show up, it's just going to be a quick cameo of like, maybe Flash zooms past his universe and you just have Reeves kind of like looking like, damn, what the fuck just happened? Like, that's my assumption. But I don't see it as disrespectful. I just see it as a nice little cameo, as a nice little appearance, because we've already had dead actors kind of make appearances. And to me, as long as you don't change something major, like, let's say for some reason in the movie they decide to say that this Superman, Christopher Reeve Superman, has a Justice League, or eventually has a Justice League, and he just ends up murdering all the Justice League members in his universe. Like, there, I'd be like, okay, now you're retconning things. You're now changing up things for quite literally no purpose, right? And so that's the only way I would see it as disrespectful. Same thing with any actor that's passed away. Adam West, if they were to bring him back, man, cool appearance. This is a movie celebrating the DC multiverse. We've never had that live action. No, even the Crisis on Infinite Earths, that was more just celebrating the CW. Now let's celebrate all the DC multiverse. Let's celebrate it, especially with the bigger budget. And hey, you want to bring in Grant Gustin's Flash, make a cameo? Ezra Miller did make a cameo in the CW. So regardless, I see it as a win. I see it as a good thing. If they want to bring him back, bring him back. Well, they can't bring him back. They would have to CGI him. They would have to de-age him. But no, realistically, Christopher Reeves is an icon, and I don't see why not use the icon, right? So if they were to do this, I'd be all in for it. In fact, if I was at Warner Bros. And I was part of the script writing team, I'd say, hey, if we're doing cameos, let's have Christopher Reeves show up. Let's have a quick scene where Flash zooms past Reeves. I think that would be cool. I think that would be a nice little niche little cool cameo. We live in this weird era where fans want to see cameos, and I feel like Christopher Reeves, cool. He's a generational Superman. Why can't we just at least see him one time and then boom, that's it? I know this one's an impossibility, but if they were to make him a supporting character, kind of like Michael Keaton or Sasha Calle, Supergirl, if they were to do that, then maybe we could have this ethical dilemma. Honestly, this isn't really about Reeves. I think it's really an ethical, moral question on should actors be CGI'd in? Should actors even be how do you even first of all, who do you even ask? Do you just ask their family? What if the family says no? There's just so many questions towards it, and I think that's the bigger conversation. Now, me personally, if you were to ask me that, I would say as long as you're not severely changing the character or as long as you're not messing something up. We just had this question with T'Challa. Of course, Chadwick Boseman passed away, and they decided not to recast. I believe they should have recasted because, to me, the character of Black Panther is far more popular. They're far more legendary than Chadwick Boseman. And I respect Chadwick. Chadwick is a great legend, but I don't believe the story of T'Challa ends with Chadwick. I believe that's a story that can continue. Same thing with Superman, same thing with Batman. Now, the difference here is that Christopher Reeves did have all his movies. He came together. We had all 4 of his movies. We had him, and then boom, it was done. It was over with, and then he passed away. And this isn't like with T'Challa, it was finishing his story. While with Reeves, it would just be kind of like, oh, you're just bringing him back because why not? I guess that is a big difference. But the difference here would be about what should you do when you need to finish a story? That would be the big question. But like I said, if they want to have this nice little cameo, follow you blindly, I'll be your fool. Where do you go to? Where do you go? Where do you go to? I wanna know. How do you do that thing you do? At the end of the day, I think he's a legacy character that I think deserves a lot of respect. And Christopher Reeves did a lot. And if you're making this big multiverse movie, why not bring in Christopher Reeves?